Good afternoon and welcome back. You're watching the Midday Report and I'm your host, Klaudia Czerwińska. We begin today's Midday Report with a big topic in international and domestic politics, namely the question of whether President Nawrocki would join the meeting of the Board of Peace. Donald Trump's initiative aimed at solving global conflicts regarded as competition to the UN. According to the statement made by Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk, it is entirely up to the government and the Polish parliament and not the president to make such a decision. More on the board, the invitations and the shift in U.S. foreign policy in this report.
It's a great pleasure to have President Nawrocki with us.
It was all smiles when Poland's President Karol Nawrocki was hosted by Donald Trump last year. And now he's been invited by the US leader to join the Board of Peace initiative aimed at resolving conflicts globally. But other invitees may prove difficult for Poland to stomach. Among them, Russia's leader Vladimir Putin and his ally Alexander Lukashenko, who backs the Kremlin's war against Ukraine. President Nawrocki's advisor Marcin Przydacz was guarded when asked about whether the invitation would be accepted, noting concern about Moscow and Minsk's involvement. He told RMF-FM that talks are underway with Poland's Western partners. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk posted on X that Parliament and the government would need to approve any move by Nawrocki to join Trump's new peace body. The US leader's initiative, involving the heads of some 60 countries, including India's Narendra Modi, comes as a CBOS survey for the daily Dziennik Gazeta Prawna, found that 58% of Poles disapprove of the US president's foreign policy. The board would be chaired for life by Trump and would start by addressing the Gaza conflict and then be expanded to deal with other conflicts, according to Reuters. The Times of Israel has published what it claims is the draft Board of Peace Charter, which includes a commitment to contribute more than $1 billion in cash funds by those countries that want to be full members. Most governments have reacted cautiously to the invitation. President Emmanuel Macron's suggestion that he would turn down the offer sparked a tough reaction from Trump on Monday night.
What I'll do is, if they feel like Costa, I'll put a 200% tariff on his wines and champagnes, and he'll join. But he doesn't have to join. If he said that, you're probably giving it to me a little bit differently. But if he actually did say that, but as you know, he's going to be out of office in a few months.
Experts have voiced concerns that the new organization could undermine the United Nations.
He's basically saying, the old world order controlled by the UN Charter, this is history, this is going. The order that America created with allies after the Second World War, this is over. Now we're witnessing the birth of a new system with America on top. And America is going to deal the cards and decide who plays, who's in, who's out, and so on and so forth.
The Bloomberg news agency reported that Trump wants documents outlining the board's structure to be signed during a meeting of international leaders at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, on Thursday.
Anyway, here it is. Thank you.
A deal is a deal, said European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen at the World Economic Forum in Davos, speaking about the latest tariff threats from U.S. President Donald Trump over Greenland. Our correspondent in Switzerland, Kazimierz Łysiak, has more on the words of the European Commission President and how the subject of a possible tariff war is being approached at the annual forum.
In diplomatic terms, you could say that European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen came out swinging here at the World Economic Forum in Davos. She called the new tariffs threat from US President Donald Trump a mistake, and she called on him to honor the previous deal with the European Union.
Proposed additional tariffs are a mistake, especially between long-standing allies. The European Union and the United States have agreed to a trade deal last July. And in politics, as in business, a deal is a deal. And when friends shake hands, it must mean something. Ladies and gentlemen, we consider the people of the United States not just our allies, but our friends. And plunging us into a downward spiral would only aid the very adversaries we are both so committed to keeping out of the strategic landscape. So our response will be unflinching, united, and proportional.
Overall, in her speech, the President of the European Commission focused a lot on European independence. She said that we should abandon nostalgia about the previous shape of the world and that Europe now needs to take this moment as an opportunity to stand more on its own. She also gave Mercosur, the latest deal with countries in Latin America, as an example of Europe choosing partnership over tariffs. All of that indirectly saying to US President Donald Trump that we are seeing what you're doing and that we are going to bet more on ourselves now. When the European Commission President also spoke about Greenland in more detail, she said that the European Union is working on proposing a new package, seemingly hinting at a proposal of a compromise with US President Donald Trump over the autonomous territory of Denmark. Ursula von der Leyen said that the sovereignty of Denmark and Greenland is non-negotiable, but Europe could invest heavily, massive new investments in the Arctic Circle and Greenland when it comes to the security of this region. President Trump keeps saying that he needs Greenland for the security of the United States, and Europe wants to now come back with a counter-proposal of saying, well, we can invest in the security there as well, let's do it together. But also that the sovereignty is non-negotiable. Whether that will convince Donald Trump, we have to wait and see. He will be arriving here in Davos later today and delivering a speech tomorrow. Earlier this week, Donald Trump said that he would go through with the tariffs against European countries standing in his way of acquiring Greenland. These tariffs would go into force in February, but the speech from President of the European Commission here in Davos is showing that Europe is now slowly moving away from the soft kind of speech towards Donald Trump and the appeasement policy of the US president, and now more and more standing its own ground. From Davos, Kazimierz Łysiak, TVP World.
Bulgaria is bracing for a major political shift after President Rumen Radev announced his sudden resignation from office on Monday, and he is set to submit his resignation today. The move is widely seen as a strategic springboard for the former Air Force commander to launch his own political party and run in the upcoming elections.
Bulgarian President Rumen Radev will be replaced by Vice President Iliana Iotova until the next presidential elections in November. Radev officially submitted his resignation to the Constitutional Court on Tuesday. He was elected president in 2016 and again in 2021.
Today's political class betrayed the hopes of Bulgarians by compromising with the oligarchy. 2/3 no longer vote, and a new public contract is needed. Our democracy will not survive if we leave it to corrupt individuals, appeasers and extremists. It depends on the personal commitment of each of us.
Radev's resignation has fueled speculation that he will form his own political party to run the upcoming parliamentary elections. The previous government quit in December 2025 after mass protests against a new budget plan and reported cases of corruption in the country. Bulgaria is heading towards its 8th parliamentary election in 4 years.
Bulgaria needs real change that leads to the rule of law and the healing of statehood, something that the current governing assembly cannot achieve. Power has been discredited, resignation is urgent, early elections are the only way forward. I believe that we will succeed. Long live Bulgaria.
Radev has previously expressed skepticism over Bulgaria's recent introduction of the euro, which took place on January 1st. An international watchdog reported disinformation campaigns about Bulgaria's entry into Eurozone was amplified by Russia-linked organizations and later echoed by pro-Russian politicians and actors in the country. Radev also has taken Kremlin-friendly positions on the war in Ukraine. In the latest Rule of Law Index report by the World Justice Project, which measures human rights, access to justice, corruption and authoritarianism worldwide, Bulgaria has slipped 2 spots to 61st place, trailing the rest of EU countries alongside Hungary. For TVP World. Gabriela Jelonek.
And now from Bulgaria, we are moving to neighboring Serbia. Hungarian energy giant MOL has reached a preliminary agreement to acquire a controlling stake in Serbian oil company NIS. The deal will strengthen MOL's position in the region and is part of broader changes in Central and Eastern Europe's energy landscape since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
This is the sole refinery in Serbia, and it has been in trouble since October, when the US hit it with sanctions due to its Russian ownership. Washington was clear it wants the Russians gone, and now it seems to have achieved it.
The Hungarian oil company MOL and Russia's Gazprom have agreed on the fundamental provisions of a future agreement, which will be submitted to the US Office of Foreign Assets Control for approval.
With the acquisition of NIS, Hungarians get a company that has an 80% market share in Serbia. This will strengthen MOL's position in the region, as the company already operates 2 refineries and has a network of 2,400 gas stations.
MOL is expanding its activity in Southern Europe and becoming a major player in this area.
But does it really mean that the Russians have been expelled from the Serbian energy sector?
The deal that has just been made in Serbia is mutually beneficial. Serbian President Vučić said the same thing, by the way, when asked about it in Davos.
Hungary has been a staunch consumer of Russian hydrocarbons even after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and the majority of crude processed by MOL comes from Russia.
Russia may still hope for sanctions relief, maybe after the war in Ukraine ends, and continuing exports of oil to Serbia, including through a new pipeline connecting the country with Hungary, the southern branch of the Druzhba pipeline.
MOL has not yet disclosed the sum the company will pay for NIS.
Following in Australia's steps, Polish authorities are seriously considering implementing a social media ban for kids below 15. But opinions on this move are divided even within the government itself, where the Minister of Education has embraced the idea, while Poland's Minister of Digital Affairs remains far more cautious. Aisha Badje brings us the details.
If Australians did it, maybe we should too.
We follow Australia's example. That means we expect big tech companies not to allow children access to harmful content that is available on their platforms, essentially any content, unless they choose to verify it.
Authorities in Warsaw are now the next government contemplating effectively ending scroll culture for Poland's younger citizens. The centrist ruling coalition is expected to draft a bill by the end of February restricting the use of social media by children and adolescents.
We consider 16 years of age excessive. We believe that 15 is a reasonable threshold.
Age will be the primary difference in the Polish legislation.
As a father, I think this ban is the right thing to do. Children should have access to specific content, not just any content. I think up to 18, not even up to 15.
But while the Minister of Education has embraced the idea, Poland's Minister of Digital Affairs, Krzysztof Gawkowski, remains far more cautious.
We should be talking with parents about why they're setting up social media accounts for their children aged 9 or 10 when it's legal from age 13 up, instead of simply choosing, in a rather populist manner, to raise that age from 13 to 15.
The minister also added during an interview on Monday that bans raise the question of who would be punished for breaking the law. But if Poland really follows in Australia's footsteps, tech companies, not parents and teens, would be facing repercussions for any breaches.
Freedom is a top value for all people in Europe. There should be freedom. As soon as you try to limit that, that's going wrong.
But why is it the common belief that social media is harmful to young kids?
The younger someone is when they start using social media, the greater the risk that it will negatively affect their mental health.
A recent report by Tusk, Poland's research and academic computer network, found that as many as 40% of Polish children receive a smartphone before their 9th birthday, and they spend an average of nearly 5 hours a day online.
I don't think if you're too young, it wouldn't be an attack to your freedom. You have better stuff to do than being on social media.
But research and now government policy point to the same conclusion. Social media poses serious risks to developing brains.
And so this would be all for now here at the Midday Report. Thank you for joining me. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska, and I hope to see you back here for more news and features in just a moment.